Good morning, and welcome to today's DEA Red Ribbon Week rally. My name is Jim Schrant, and I'm the Chief of DEA's Office of Congressional and Public Affairs. Our Master of Ceremony today is Jim Hanley, who is the anchor of News 4 each weeknight at 5 and 11 p.m. here in Washington, D.C. Please join me in welcoming Jim to the stage. Jim, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. It is great to be back with you. Would you please stand for the presentation of colors by the Colonel Wesley Fox Young Marines Color Guard, and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by Eda Joes from Georgetown Day School.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Eda Joes, and we're looking forward to hearing from you again later in the program. That was beautiful. Please be seated. Thank you. Again, thank you all for joining us today for our Red Ribbon Week rally. I said it. I was practicing last night. I was thinking I'm going to say wed ribbon, but red ribbon did come out. We're going to be hearing a lot about that today and what we're all here for today, the important message that we're getting out in advance of the big week next week. I am honored to be back with you. It is certainly my pleasure to be here. It's been 3 years. Here for this important program to celebrate our week, an annual event to promote drug-free living. During this week, drug-free events will be held here and across the country. They serve as a reminder to everyone of the need to educate America's young people about the dangers of drug abuse and a call to redouble our efforts in drug prevention, education, and awareness too. That's why we are all here this week. So I'd like to welcome our participants, our guests from other government agencies too, our abuse prevention partners, and DEA employees. We also want to welcome everybody who is watching us stream live right now on the webcast. We have an exciting program, so let's get started. We want to begin with a video about the history of Red Ribbon Week.
Like many hugely positive things, Red Ribbon Week grew out of something profoundly negative: the savage murder of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration special agent. On February 7, 1985, Enrique Kiki Camarena Salazar had been kidnapped by drug dealers, never to be seen alive again. For his kidnappers, the story was to end there. However, for his family, friends, and a grateful nation, it was only the beginning. They pledged to not let his legacy fade and his sacrifice be in vain. Across the country, citizens wore and displayed red ribbons, not only in memory of Special Agent Camarena, but for all those whose lives were lost trying to free the nation from drugs. Beyond that, the red ribbons symbolized the development of an attitude of intolerance regarding the use of drugs. In a 1988 proclamation, Congress established Red Ribbon Week to commemorate the life and work of Kiki and to show intolerance for drugs in our schools, workplaces, and communities.
Hello to everyone in the DEA family. My name is Enrique Camarena. I am the oldest son of Enrique Kiki Camarena. As many of you know, he's the inspiration for Red Ribbon Week. And my mother and I keep speaking about Red Ribbon Week and about my dad every year to schools and community groups around the nation. And we just wanted to send a heartfelt thank you to you for celebrating Red Ribbon Week, for keeping it alive all these years. And it's a great honor for us to educate the young people of America regarding the dangers of drugs. And it's the added benefit for us to keep his memory alive. And so we tell the story about what happened to him, the dangers that he faced, the sacrifice that he made. And we just thank you for helping us in and participating with us in honoring him with Red Ribbon Week. I think it's important for people to know not only about the dangers of drugs, obviously, but about his life and why he inspired so many to start Red Ribbon Week and to keep Red Ribbon Week going for over 30 years. Thank you for celebrating Red Ribbon Week.
Think, spend time to actually think. Just figure out your own personal beliefs, your own ideals, and what you're good at. Like, we're all amazing singers and we're performers, so that's our escape. We don't go to drugs.
Keep yourself busy, keep yourself motivated to want to do more than escaping to doing drugs, to so you can have a fulfilled life, and make sure to not to do drugs, because it's just so important that you keep yourself on a healthy lifestyle.
I would just say focus on school, focus on your education, your family, your health first.
And learn the things that I need to know. I pledge to make the world a better place. For kids like me to grow. I pledge to keep my dreams alive. And be in all I can be. I pledge to tell others. And to keep myself drug-free. Great job! Give yourselves a round of applause.
What a powerful message. It's great to hear from young people talking about what they and their peers should be focusing on. Spending time with families, sports and activities after school, and being the best that they can be. We'd like to hear now from our acting administrator of DEA, Uttam Dhillon. Mr. Dhillon was appointed back in July by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Earlier in his career, Mr. Dhillon served as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Central District of California for more than 6 years. He directed complex investigations of major narcotics trafficking organizations and gangs. Mr. Dhillon successfully prosecuted narcotics trafficking and money laundering cases. In 2006, Mr. Dhillon was confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the first director of the Office of Counter-Narcotics Enforcement at the Department of Homeland Security. In that role, he worked closely with other federal agencies to coordinate anti-drug efforts. Mr. Dhillon also served in the Department of Justice, where he led the development of anti-gang efforts as chair of the Attorney General's Anti-Gang Coordination Committee. Most recently, Mr. Dhillon served as Deputy Counsel and Deputy Assistant to the President. In addition to directing the drug enforcement work of the DEA, Mr. Dhillon also knows that both enforcement and prevention are critical in keeping our community safe and drug-free. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Dhillon to the stage.
Thanks, Jim, for that kind introduction and for being our master of ceremonies today. It's great to be here with so many friends of DEA who know how important Red Ribbon Week is. Red Ribbon Week is celebrated here at DEA, but also at the Office of National Drug Control Policy, in the Young Marines program, at the Georgetown Day School, as well as through many outstanding education and prevention partners. I can't thank you enough for your participation in this program and for your commitment to this incredible national movement. For more than 30 years, during the last week of October, we've honored our heroes by renewing our commitment to reducing addiction in America and encouraging our children to live drug-free. Red Ribbon Week supports the shared goal of the law enforcement and prevention communities, which is to decrease substance abuse in our country and the pain, suffering, and death that it causes. This administration is committed to this goal, and we believe that strong, effective enforcement of our drug laws is critical to achieving this objective. The more we reduce access to drugs, the fewer drugs there are to be abused, and as a result, fewer people will use them. Aggressive enforcement by the brave men and women of DEA and by our partners takes drugs off the streets and keeps Americans from becoming addicted and from dying. Strong, targeted, and strategic supply reduction isn't just wise policy. It's also compassionate. It's a measurable, effective, and efficient investment of resources, complementing and supporting the work of our prevention partners by stopping drug abuse before it starts. This does not happen without cost. We wear red not only to remember Special Agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, whose kidnapping, torture, and murder by Mexican drug traffickers drove the creation of Red Ribbon. We wear red to keep the memory alive of those on our wall of honor and all those who have died enforcing our nation's drug laws. They did not die in vain. They died so the lives of others could be saved. Because of their sacrifice and their legacy, which we build upon here at DEA, countless American lives have been saved. Yet far, far too many people still begin using drugs and are killed by them, often at a young age. For example, I was shocked to hear that last year an estimated 1 in 4 young adults used an illicit drug in the past 30 days, and 100,000 kids under the age of 18 used cocaine for the first time. 72,000 Americans, nearly the capacity of FedEx Field, died from a drug overdose in 2017. What this tells me is that we have our work cut out for us and that we need more, not less, education, prevention, treatment, and enforcement. Red Ribbon is a much better way to learn about drug use than discovering why drugs are so bad and so dangerous firsthand. While millions have learned about the dangers of drugs through Red Ribbon Week, millions more need to do so. In addition to Red Ribbon, we must engage in other ways, such as the National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, which takes place on Saturday, October 27th, with Operation Prevention in DEA 360 strategy cities and through other school and community-based programs. Nothing less than our future is at stake. We need the energy of the Red Ribbon campaign to not only honor our heroes, but also to make America a better place. In 1985, the first Red Ribbon Club was formed in Calexico, California, which is located on the California border with Mexico in an area known as the Imperial Valley. It was at Calexico High School, the high school attended by Special Agent Camarena, where the first Red Ribbon celebration occurred in his honor. And I'm very proud to tell you that it was my brother David, who was an instructor at Calexico High School, who was responsible for organizing that very first Red Ribbon event 33 years ago. Perhaps I'm saying it because he's my brother, but it's possible we may not be here today celebrating Red Ribbon Week if not for the visionary efforts of David, who just so happens to be here today. So David, please stand up. And everyone, please join me in thanking David. for the first Red Ribbon Day that happened 33 years ago. The Office of Drug Control Policy is the principal advisor to the President on drug control issues and coordinates the drug control activities of 16 federal departments and agencies, including DEA, that develop and implement components of America's national drug control strategy. It is led by a person colloquially known as the drug czar. And fortunately for DEA, the drug czar also happens to be our good friend. Jim Carroll is very accomplished and has a very long resume, so I'm only going to touch on a few highlights. Last year when I met Jim, while we were working together in the White House counsel's office, I saw him accomplish a feat that few people have ever accomplished. He achieved the 3 highest levels you can achieve at the White House. He became a special assistant to the president, a deputy assistant to the president, and an assistant to the president, all in about 1 year. During that time, he served as a senior counsel to the president, general counsel in the Office of Management and Budget, and deputy chief of staff to the president. The president then appointed him to be the deputy director of ONDCP, and the president then nominated him to be the director of ONDCP. Jim accomplished all of this since just January of 2017. And Jim has proven to be a true ally of DEA in our worldwide battle against major drug trafficking organizations. Last year when I met Jim at the White House, I learned what everyone who knows Jim already knows. He is the wisest and kindest person you could ever meet. I came to rely on his advice and guidance both professionally and personally, and I am honored to call him not just a friend of DEA, but my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our drug czar, Jim Carroll.
I feel like I'm at my own funeral and someone's reading my obituary. I am very honored to be here, and quite frankly, I want to be at DEA at this ceremony, and not just because Udom and I are such close friends, but because the relationship that ONDCP has with DEA is a close friendship since both of our agencies were created. So thank you very much, Administrator Dillon, for your kind remarks, for hosting this event and inviting so many of us to attend. I'd also like to thank all the federal, state, and local partners for being here as well. They also do important work on this issue. It is needed because so many people, as Administrator Dillon said, are dying from this epidemic. At 72,000 people dying in 2017, as Udom said, it's about 200 people a day, which looks to be about the number of people in attendance here in this auditorium who perish every day. But what it doesn't actually go into are the additional deaths. When we talk about the 72,000 people who die of an overdose, it doesn't mention the people who have an addiction, who die at their own hand by committing suicide, by crashing into a tree and dying from a car accident, nor does it take into account the people the innocent victims of the drug addiction as well. And so these overdose fatalities must come down. That is not only one of the priorities of the president, it's obviously what everyone in DEA does on a daily basis. It's truly an honor to be here today as we commemorate the memory of Kiki. And as I'm sitting in the auditorium looking up at the badge and the red ribbon, I think it's only appropriate that when you look at the ribbon on the outline, you see the heart. And that is obviously represents not just the heart of Kiki, who was killed and brutally murdered during a job that the country needed him to do, but it also shows the heart and compassion of Kiki, as well as the men and women of DEA and the other partners around the world. And I also think it's important that when you look at that badge that says DEA Special Agent and you see the eagle on top protecting the country, in one hand is the olive branch. The DEA would like to be peaceful. We would like peace on this earth on types of this drug issue. but it's important to look in the talon of the other eagle, because those contain the swords of justice that you all bring to this fight every day. Everyone here knows that the mission of DEA is to do that, is to bring the fight and to interrupt the flow of drugs to those people who have the addiction or those people who want to try and experiment. That's what Kiki was doing when he was killed. But what we need to remember is that the DEA also interrupts the flow of drugs by having events just like this, by reaching out to prevent drug use from ever happening. One of the first drug education programs that was ever distributed to students came from the DEA almost in its inception back in the early 1970s. Think about that. One of the first government-wide publications targeted just to students came from DEA. And so we're carrying on that tradition today, not just by honoring Kiki, but also targeting the most at-risk students. So with both Kiki's memory and the entire mission of DEA, we at ONDCP work every day to stop people from dying. We give out over $100 million in grants to support the high-intensity drug trafficking areas task forces that are supported by the DEA now in all 50 states. And we're incredibly honored to be able to participate in that by bringing together the state, local, and federal partners like the DEA across the country. These HIDAs are making a tremendous difference, and I sincerely appreciate the efforts of the DEA to support this mission. Through the Red Ribbon Week activities, though, millions of young people are showing their commitment to a healthy and drug-free lifestyle by wearing or displaying the red ribbon. Part of that also is back to ONDCP with the drug-free communities, 731 across the country that are, again, in many instances supported by the DEA on the prevention outlook of what's happening, because we know these drug-free communities across the country work as well. There are only over 60 million Americans who live in a community where a DFC coalition exists. And what's so special is that 30,000 students participated in a drug-free community to prevent drug use in their communities last year alone. The 98% of middle school students and 95% of high school students in a drug-free community report they have not misused a prescription opioid in the last 30 days. So the young students, young adults here from Georgetown Day, the young Marines, I encourage you all to get involved with the local drug-free communities. Those watching back in the webcam, I also would ask that you all get involved as well. Let me conclude by saying I think it's appropriate that Red Ribbon Week, oh boy, I think I said it, Red Ribbon Week. Jim, I was going to say, maybe you can come up and translate for me. Red Ribbon Week is celebrated in the exact same month that President Trump proclaimed National Substance Prevention Month. And I applaud the DEA for featuring that proclamation prominently on the Red Ribbon Campaign website. And I encourage you all to read it. I do want to share one portion of it. This month, we reaffirm our commitment to helping educate our loved ones on the devastating effects substance abuse can have on our families, our communities, and our nation. I call on parents, educators, mentors, employers, healthcare professionals, law enforcement officials, faith and community leaders, and all Americans to support evidence-based prevention programs. Through our united advocacy and awareness programs on the horrific dangers of substance abuse, we can cultivate a society focused on health, wellness, and prosperity. It's also appropriate that when I was researching Georgetown Day, I saw on your website the mission statement, and I want to read from that because I think it's absolutely important and critical to what we're talking about today. A Georgetown Day School student honors the integrity and worth of each individual. That's what we're doing today. We are honoring Kiki, we're honoring all the men and women who work at DEA, and everyone should take that statement to heart. Thank you all very much for what you're doing. Administrator Dillon, thank you for allowing me to come be with you today.
Mr. Dillon, Mr. Carroll, thank you for your words of inspiration and your leadership. And David, thank you for being here. You're a big reason why we are all still coming together this many years later. Now it's time to salute our young people, folks. We're going to begin with the Red Ribbon Bookmark Contest winners for this year. As many of you know, DEA's Bookmark Contest was created for kids of DEA employees to encourage them, elementary and middle school students, to come up with drug prevention messages in the form of a bookmark. And we had some powerful entries. I picked up our winners here. You'll see them on the way in and way out too. This year, there were 27 submissions from here and all over the country. The Community Outreach and Prevention Support Section thanks everyone who allowed their children to take part and enter. All the entries were reviewed by a panel of judges for originality, creativity, and a clear drug prevention message. Mr. Dillon, would you please join me on stage now to recognize the contest winners? The elementary school category, the winning bookmark was drawn by Savannah King, who's in the 3rd grade from Conway, Arkansas. Savannah is the granddaughter of Justin King, the Assistant Special Agent in charge of DEA's Little Rock District Office. Savannah, would you please come up on stage, and would Savannah's family please stand? Thank you, Savannah. And boy, did you capture the heart that Mr. Carroll spoke about in your bookmark. In the middle school category, the winning bookmark was drawn by Anaya James, who's in the 7th grade at James Madison Middle School in Rosarieville, Maryland. She is the niece of Fatima Kearney Desper, who is a division investigator in DEA's Baltimore District Office. Anaya, would you please come up to the stage, and would Anaya's family please stand? Thank you, Anaya. And I guess you can read that up there. It's easy to remember. Don't huff, don't puff, keep away from that stuff. Easy to remember, and it's catchy too. Well done. You know, each year DEA sponsors its Community Drug Prevention Awards to highlight the importance of grassroots efforts to keep our nation's communities safe and drug-free, to recognize the volunteer activities of so many employees, and to enhance future programs too. This year, 11 nominations from across the country were submitted to the Community Outreach and Prevention Support Section. We'd like to thank all of the people and DEA divisions that submitted a nomination. The nominations were reviewed and scored by 6 judges representing intelligence, diversion, operations, training, and field divisions. Thanks to all of the judges for their time and careful consideration. I am pleased to announce this year's award winners now. The first award goes to the Hope Together Foundation, nominated by Special Agent Rocky Heron from the DEA's San Ysidro Residence Office in California. In 2005, Aaron Rubin, a 23-year-old who abused oxycodone, successfully completed a lengthy detox and rehabilitation program, but then relapsed and suffered a near-fatal overdose. Against all odds, Aaron awoke from a very lengthy coma, only to learn he was a quadriplegic with limited control of one arm. Aaron also lost his ability to speak, yet lost none of his intellect, none of his personality. In 2008, Aaron's mother, Sherry, began speaking to parent groups at local schools, bringing her personal story to the surface to educate other families out there to the drug hazards facing their children. In 2010, Sherry founded the Hope Together Foundation to expand outreach efforts. That Hope Together Foundation has given more than 400 presentations in partnership with DEA and successfully promoted meaningful legislation in the state of California. Sherry was a founding member of San Diego's groundbreaking prescription drug abuse task force that brings together key figures from government, law enforcement, drug abuse prevention and treatment, social work, medicine, and education too. She also presented at the CVS Pharmacy Convention, the California State Pharmacy Board, and the Millennium Laboratories National Conference. Congratulations to the Hope Together Foundation, and please join me in welcoming Sherry Rubin, the director of Hope Together, to the stage to accept her award. Thank you, Sherry, for sharing your message, a powerful one, to millions, literally, across the country. The second award today goes to the St. Louis chapter of the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NCADA, nominated by Diversion Outreach Coordinator Amanda Purdom from the DEA St. Louis Field Division. NCADA is dedicated to reducing or preventing the harms of alcohol and drug abuse through education, intervention. Its prevention educators teach leadership, resiliency skills, and prevention programs to get this more than 90,000 students at 280 different schools. In 2016, NCADA developed a youth leadership program that guides and trains middle school students to become Red Ribbon ambassadors for their schools. It also hosts a 2-day prevention conference and Teen Institute retreat, preparing students to become prevention leaders. And the Talk About It campaign is a community outreach effort designed to prevent adolescents' substance abuse by encouraging conversations in families at their homes. The campaign kicked off with a 60-second locally produced TV commercial that aired during the Super Bowl. Many of you probably saw it. Although the campaign is branded for St. Louis, the resources can be used by anyone interested in preventing drug use. Congratulations to NCADA St. Louis. Please welcome Nicole Dawsey, the Executive Director, to the stage to accept their award. Nicole? Thank you, Nicole. Each of this year's winner, you should know, will receive $1,000 to support their drug prevention efforts in their communities. Thank you, Acting Administrator Dillon, for representing and presenting today those awards. You should also know DEA promotes other contests and programs that support Red Ribbon Week. DEA is a co-sponsor of the National Family Partnerships National Red Ribbon Photo Contest that engages families, schools, and communities to actively spread this week's message. NFP coordinated the first National Red Ribbon Week celebration. That was back in 1988. And we thank them for their continued leadership. DEA and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration co-sponsor a campus video PSA contest for colleges and universities to promote the importance of preventing alcohol and drug abuse for college-age students. The entry period is open. The deadline is November 9th. The winning campus receives a nice award package, including $3,000 to help support their school's drug abuse prevention efforts. Let's take a look at last year's winning PSA from Towson University.
Being a college student is a balancing act. It doesn't take much to tip the scale. In times like this, students may reach for unproductive or even destructive ways of relief. Prescription drug abuse is rising in the state of Maryland. Between 2015 and 2016, the number of unintentional overdoses had risen by 61%. Although recreational drug abuse is growing in college campuses, students don't have to follow this trend. There are always healthier alternatives, so it's important to take time out to realize what is best for you, whether it be campus activities, self-care, or professional campus resources. College is about solidifying your identity as an adult and developing habits that can make or break you. Don't let drug abuse break you.
And for more information about this year's contest, go to campusdrugprevention.gov. DEA also has a Red Ribbon Week patch program that provides Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, too, the opportunity to earn a patch from the DEA by participating in anti-drug activities in support of our big week next week. To find out more about any of these contests, please visit GetSmartAboutDrugs.com. And finally, as part of Red Ribbon Week, DEA has joined forces with Discovery Education. This is really cool to host a virtual field trip for middle and high school students as part of Operation Prevention programs about the science of opioids. It's next Thursday, October 25th, and can be viewed on OperationPrevention.com. So as you can see, there are lots of great ways that you can get involved with your families, with your classmates at school and in your community. One thing that you can do is to commit to staying drug-free by taking the Red Ribbon Drug-Free Pledge. So I'd like to call back up Mr. Dillon, if he would, to lead us in that pledge today. If everyone would please stand. The students. Students only, sorry.
The rest of you could do this too, but it's really for the students. Yeah. Students, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Pledge to stay in school and learn the things I need to know. I pledge to make the world a better place. For kids like me to grow. I pledge to keep my dreams alive. And be all that I can be. I pledge to help others and to keep myself drug-free. Congratulations.
Very well done. It's nice to see so many young people here today. That is why we are here. So it's quite a difference from 3 years ago. So good to see so many people committed to our cause today. We are clearing the stage to hear the beautiful voices from Eat Joe's, one of Georgetown Day School's co-ed a cappella groups. Folks, it has been a privilege, again, an honor to be with you for this inspiring day and this inspiring program. After they are done singing Diamonds, an inspirational song, we're going to hear some closing remarks from Jim Schrant.
Diamonds in the sky. the beautiful sea, I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt energy of sun rays. I saw the light inside your eyes. Tonight, you and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Eye to eye, so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Palms rise to the universe in the moonlight and morning. Feel the warmth, we'll never die. We're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. Shine bright tonight. You and I, we're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Eye to eye, so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Beautiful like diamonds in the sky.
Thank you very much to Eat at Joe's. Can we have another round of applause for the incredible performance? After meeting a lot of the amazing students in the room today and backstage, I think it's safe to say that the future is in very good hands from these incredible young people we have. I'd also like to personally thank, both on my behalf and on DEA, Director Carroll and Jim Hanley for spending time and taking time out of their schedules to come in today. So thank you very much for coming. I hope that this program also serves as an inspiration to all of you to find opportunities to help participate and serve in Red Ribbon Week and find opportunities to do that. I know as an agent for over 20 years, I've carried a red ribbon next to my badge, and during a lot of tough times, it's been that touchstone to be able to go back and look at. I would also like to thank DEA's section of community outreach. Not only did they spend a lot of time and work putting today's program together, but this is something that they do every day. And a lot of the wonderful programs that you saw highlighted by Jim Hanley are things that are both the brainchild of them and things that they work on 365 days a year. So I'd like to thank DEA's division and section of community outreach. So at this time, I'd like to conclude this ceremony, and I'd like to invite our prevention guests and invited guests to the training room for a meet and greet with Director Dillon. And thank you, all of you, for attending, and this concludes today's program. Thank you very much.